What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Kill Shot MMA Breakdown Podcast. We're taking a look at UFC 285, Jones versus Gane. One of the best, probably the best card of the year so far. An epic card top to bottom. Really excited about this one. We're taking a look at the DraftKings plays. We're going to break these cards down from a fantasy perspective. Also betting, everything that you want to do. We got you covered, and I got the crew with me to do it. We got Big Marley, 17-inch guns. MMA bettor extraordinaire. We've got MonkMMAtics, a mathematician, knows every salary level that's won a tournament going back to 2016. He knows the numbers. And of course, myself, Kevin Allen, aka the Geek, hosting, bringing it to you, getting it all figured out so that you don't have to. We can take down some more tournaments. Last week, we were just talking about, last week was nuts, dude. We nailed every play on this. We had Jasmine, my kill shot, crushed it. Brendan Allen, underdog, Odie Osborne, all three of the underdogs that we picked to win ended up winning their fight. I wish I had bet heavier on the card. Both Big Marley and myself gave out Augusto Sakai as our favorite bet of the slate. And not only was that a great play at the sports book, wound up being an okay DraftKings play as well. We got a win for a medium price, but the main event gets canceled. I was 100% exposed to the main event. Therefore, no Munya for me. Although I did cash quite a few lineups with the zeros and actually made back my money, which is weird. I made back my entries, but could not take down a tournament without that main event. How'd you guys do on DraftKings this past week?
I was the same. I only lost one pick. So DraftKings was going great. I thought I was going to have a chance at the nuts, but then as soon as the main got canceled, I only went with 20 lineups last week and going all in on the fight. I went all in on Krylov because I was just feeling really good about Krylov. So yeah, I feel like it would have been a great night had that fight happened, but I might have been the same, right around break even or so. I don't remember how much I had in, but it was kind of a light night. So it was a winner overall, thanks to Sakai.
There you go. Because of that bet, I placed a pretty big bet on Sakai myself, and it definitely was bigger than all of my DraftKings entry money combined, which is nice. Monk, how'd you do on DraftKings this past week?
About like you, pretty even. That main event, losing the main event hurt me, but luckily it's not like when, Cerrone and Lozon got, everyone was playing a ton of this fight. So it was easy to kind of at least, get your money back if you had some good lineups. First time in a few weeks, 4 fighters over the 100-point mark. Brendan Allen makes optimal at 71 at 78 points. So a very interesting week for DraftKings. Got that score back up there. It's been very low for 2 weeks. So it's nice to see a bunch of 100-point scores back on there. And I think we're going to get more of that this week too.
That's what I was just about to say. I've got a feeling that we're going to see a lot of 100+ point scores. I want to mention that right here on the DFS Army YouTube channel, I already put out a video for my favorite prize picks prop plays for this card. And it's a lot of early finishes, right? Like there's just a lot of fights that have early fin. My favorite play was Bo Nickal to finish in the first round. Bo Nickal to finish his fight in the first round, which I think you can get at -270 on the sports book. And like the prize picks play is basically a 50-50 prop. So that is a build around that for every single thing you do over on that site. So loving that one. But let's get right into this card. And the first fight of the night. And again, we're going to see a lot of early finishes. We're going to see a lot of really exciting fights for DraftKings purposes. This one's not quite priced yet. Esteban Ribovics taking on Loic Razdabov. I hope I said that right. I have no idea. Loic is a -260 favorite here. Esteban coming back at +220. The fight ends inside the distance. Prop is -170. So Big Marley, this was, I guess, a later addition. They still have not added this prop to the card yet, but we've got a Razdabov, which means he must be a wrestler against an Argentinian, probably more of a striker. That's my guess. What do you say, Big Marley?
Yeah, I mean, I would say they're both fairly well-rounded, but I would give the striking edge well, at least the striking edge at distance to Ribovics. And then I think if I'm just going to call him Loic as well. If Loic can close the distance, I would give him the striking edge. I would give him the edge in the clinch, the wrestling edge. I just think he's the bigger, stronger guy of the two, and he's the one that can control the fight or control where the fight can take place. Whereas Esteban looks more like he's going to need a knockout or a flash submission to get it done here. But he's got 11 wins. All of them are finishes. If he gets a 12th here, I'm guessing he's going to be right around 7,200. Then he's going to have a good chance at the optimal lineup. I think not only would this fight be fairly low owned if there were already salaries, but I'm already building lineups myself. I'm sure other people are too. They'll just set it and forget it. So it'll be a little bit lower owned for that reason also. So I'm okay with both sides of this fight kind of as an ownership play. I don't know that Radzovic scores very well unless he's going to go out there and get a late finish, which I think he could do. And if he goes out there and wrestles heavily, he could score well. It's just that he's priced around so many killers on this card that it's hard to click on his name. So I think I would rather just take my chances on the underdog. If I was just making one lineup and had to throw him in there, give me the underdog. He's got power in his hands, kind of deceptive power. Like he's hitting these guys and it doesn't look like it would be a knockout, but they just fall right on their face. So maybe he could do it again here. I'm taking the favorite to get either a late finish or a unanimous decision. But as I mentioned, if I was just making one lineup and I had to use this fight, I'll take my chances on Ribovics.
Monk is lost when there's no salaries out yet. He's like, I don't know. I don't know what to do.
I'm in a cloud.
Yeah.
I'm in a cloud, but we can guess. We can infer what the salary will be. I don't know if Marley said it. I think he did. Loic should be around. He should be the favorite, right? I can't remember. The line flipped since so Loic should be 9K. Esteban should be about 7,200. Those salaries are still open, and the odds put them about right there. So we're probably right about that one. Ribovic, just throw his numbers out. He only fought for a minute and a half in the Dana White Contender Series fight. His numbers are off the charts. Loic, when I see this fight, he is giving up height. He is giving up reach, supposedly. You can't always trust UFC stats. But he is the one that has double, if not more than that, of the experience. Fought in the PFL for quite a long time. At least, a few fights at least. 3, 4, 5 fights, if not more. So he's been around. He's been fighting some decent guys. Then I go look at the strength of schedule, and neither one is terrible. Neither one's great, but Radzhabov definitely has the advantage in strength of schedule, as you would imagine. Like I said, he's been fighting in the PFL, not in the Argentina regional scene. It should be noted.
He's also taken losses recently. Like, this is not a guy who's just winning.
Right. No, not at all. He is 16-4 professionally, whereas Ribovic is undefeated. I like the experience better from Radzhabov. I like his wrestling upside better. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to get to him. You're going to have to do your tape study and really play the ownership game with this one. It should be noted, last week, for the first time ever, we saw a fighter from Tajikistan make his debut in the UFC. 2 weeks in a row, back-to-back Tajik fighters this week. So I don't know what that says, but let's see if they can get the ball rolling 2 weeks in a row on their debut. If you saw the scenes, the people watching the stadium last week, it was pretty impressive to watch. I'm going to favor the favorite here, Loic Radzhabov. I don't know shit about either of these guys. We'll go with the old favorite, the DWCS fade here, and we'll fade Ribovic a little bit. 7,200, I don't mind throwing in a few lineups, but I won't have much of this fight.
I'm going the opposite way on this one, guys. I think we have enough high-end fighters to fuck with on this card already. I don't need Loic in there. He's not helping me. I've got other guys I like. I do like an 11-0 underdog on a card where it's impossible to find any live dogs. So the fighter I'm more excited to play this week on DraftKings from a fantasy perspective is most definitely Esteban here. And it's, again, knocking out everybody he's fought in the first round. We don't know how good or bad he is, but he's finishing everybody fast. I like that. This other dude has a bunch of losses on his record, but more importantly, there's no one to play on DraftKings this week. You're going to see as the card rolls on, it is hard to find live dogs. So you got to get on a player, on a fighter like this that, neither one is a super known commodity anyway. There's a reasonable enough chance that that this one comes through for us. And my plus 220 is pretty long odds, but it's not that bad compared to a lot of the other underdogs on this card. All right, let's move on to fight number 2. Fareed Basharat taking on Damon Blackshear. And this, I think we should keep some of these breakdowns pretty quick because, Fareed minus 485. The odds makers are not giving Damon much of a shot at all in this fight. This one's also interesting because it's very likely to go the distance. It's minus 145 to go the distance. Another, by the way, overplay on Prize Picks for me. That's why I memorized it. Let's play the over on Prize Picks at minus 145 odds for a 50-50 prop. That's usually a good thing. Big Marley, stylistically, I guess Fareed is a grappler. And what's the story with Damon? I don't know anything about him.
Well, I would say Damon's kind of more a grappler if you're just going to say he is one thing, whereas Fareed, I don't know, he's just really freaking good everywhere. He's just like his brother. They're both very well-rounded, no real weaknesses, great kicks on the feet. When they want to throw hands, they're good at that too. But they're both good wrestlers as well when they want to mix that in. So I got to give Basharat the edge everywhere in this fight. Blackshear I would guess he needs a knockout. He's got a little bit of power, but he's just not very good at striking, in my opinion. So I don't really see the knockout coming. I think it would be some sort of flash finish, maybe a rear naked choke, guillotine, something like that. That would get him the win in this one. So I'm just going to fade Blackshear because I don't see that happening. I think Basharat's going to control where this fight takes place, and he's going to be the better fighter wherever that is. The only worry is that he's priced at 9,100. A lot of people priced up in the upper range that I like this week. And if he doesn't get a finish himself, we're going to need him to wrestle heavily for him to pay off a $9,100 price tag on this slate. So Basharat or pass, but I'll have more lineups without Basharat than with him.
Monk, there's only one fight worth of data on screen here. But in that one fight, Fareed managed to land 7 strikes per minute and 3 takedowns on average over 15 minutes, 75% takedown accuracy. This guy just was putting a beating on his first opponent. Not really showing much takedown defense here from Damon Blackshear. It looks like he just likes to go down. If you attempted to get a takedown, he wants to be in grappling range. I don't know, this could, and that was against Yusuf Zalal, who's not that good. I kind of think that we might see Fareed just able to do whatever the hell he wants here.
Yeah, I think so. Half of the Bash brothers, as I like to call them, we haven't seen Fareed yet. We've seen Javid fight a couple of times. Quickly, 9 of 12 wins for Blackshear, finishes. 6 of 9 wins for Basharat, finishes. Neither one has ever been finished. So I'm kind of leaning finish in this one. I know a lot of people like the decision. I think they see Basharat and they're like, oh, Javid went to decision. He goes to decision in every single fight, so his brother must be the same. You're probably right, but I would like to see what the numbers were on the under for sure. It's about time a Basharat gets a finish in the UFC. We're fighting Damon Blackshear, who I do like. I believe he came in on short notice. Correct me if I'm wrong, against Yusuf Zalal. Looked decent, took him to a draw. That fight was pretty close. And Zalal, not a world beater by any means, but definitely someone I would consider a UFC veteran. He's got 5-6 fights, I think, in the UFC. The strength of schedule is very bad for Basharat. That's the only weakness here. That said, I expect him to win. Again, we have only one fight, DWCS fight, so throw the stats out the window, which are very freaking good and dominant, by the way, as you alluded to against his fight over Alan Bagoso. I like Basharat here at 91K. I love him for cash. Call him Fareed Casharat if you want to, because play him in cash. I think he really rolls here over Blackshear. But like you guys said, if it goes to decision, we might not see a good score. Maybe he's a rinse. Maybe he looks just like his brother, scoring like 70 to 80 points in a decision. That's not going to get the job done at 9,100. So I will be a little trepidatious here with Basharat, but I really do like him to win over Damon Blackshear.
If you're going to take Basharat and Big Marley, this probably appeal to you as well. Might as well, plus 180 Basharat inside the distance. For a minus 485 fighter, plus 180 inside, that is not bad at all. I think that's the play here.
Could be. And like we said, neither guy ever been finished, but that's why you're getting such a good number there. And it is about time, like I said, for a Basharat finish in the UFC.
And like I said, I'm not paying minus 480. Why, right? You're not making any money on that deal. But plus 180 for a massive favorite, and all he has to do is actually, land a sub. Or I like that play. I think that's a good risk to take right there. All right, next up we've got Jessica Panay taking on Tabitha Ricci. Panay plus 230 as an underdog. Tabitha Ricci minus 270, the favorite. This one is super likely to go the distance, minus 275 odds. Big Marley, Jessica Panay, she's like the first woman to ever fight in the UFC. She's still here?
Yeah.
She was like,
she's still around.
When Ronda Rousey got into the UFC, she was like, I always watched you fight when I was a kid growing up. To Panay. How is she still in the UFC? She's old.
You're right. I don't know how she's still in the UFC, to be honest with you. She hasn't really done anything impressive lately, but on the Panay side, I would say she's only playable in the deepest of tournaments, and that she can throw up a first round submission and get it. But I'm just going to go ahead and X Panay out of my player pool this week. I think it's submission or bust for her, and I just don't see how she gets into dominant positions often anyways. Maybe she can grab Ricci's back or something like that, but Ricci's the better wrestler in this one. So for me, I'm going to be on the Baby Shark side. It's either Ricci or pass in all formats for me. And she's a good wrestler. I think she could go out there and land 5 takes like she landed in her last 2 fights and control the fight for more than half the fight on the ground. She scored 193 in those 2 UFC wins. Those are pretty good scores at 8,900. I mean, I'm okay with those scores. It's just that there's so many high ceiling fighters on this card that I don't know that those are going to get you there. And I don't see her ceiling being a whole lot higher than what she had in those 2 fights. So I think for me, she'll be more of an MME play. I'll let the domination station kind of control how much Ricci I get because with my hand builds, I'm probably clicking on the other fighters around her just more often. But I do think she goes out there, controls the fight for 3 rounds, and wins on the scorecards. So just Ricci or pass all around.
It is very tough to click the button on Ricci for that reason. She's sitting there at 8,900 and you're like, wait, Bo Nickal is on this card. And there are so many finishers and potential finishes, even above and below that, you're going to really, Dirksis Duplessis, all these guys, Cody Garbrandt, all these finishers. And then here's Tabitha Ricci sitting there looking like Mario. Wait, who was the girl last week that ended up? Was it Buena Silva? That looking like I'm not going to click on that, and then she ends up in the nuts. That's how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. I personally am on the same side here. I like Jessica Panay, but she is over 40 years old, taking on someone that is 12 years younger than she is. A stat like that just simply cannot be ignored. Panay has looked good though recently. She's 2-3 in her last 3, and she's made optimal lineup in both of those fights, guys. She has made the optimal lineup twice against Kovacevic and Godinez. Godinez landed 3 takedowns on her. Kovacevic landed 1. Other than that, there's a bit of takedown upside here for Panay, but at 7,300, I just really I prefer Ricci. I prefer Ricci's value. I like Marley said, I don't know what she's going to do though. Her ceiling to me is lower than Panay's. It's about not even 100 points, right around 100 points. So I'll probably have a little bit of Ricci just because who knows what could happen against a 40-year-old. But yeah, it's going to be really hard to get to Jessica Panay, even with those 2 optimal lineup performances. It's going to be very difficult, especially after her last loss to Dakota, which was a kind of close fight. She landed 0 takedowns in that fight, guys. So her strength of schedule is not great either. Give me Ricci, but there's a few women. I'd be targeting both of the other. I think there's 2 other women's fights. I might be wrong, but I'd be targeting those instead. Strawweight, really not something. Low-level strawweight, not something I'm too interested in rostering DK for the most part.
Yeah, I guess Panay would be live for like an armbar. 100% Ricci will be going for takedowns. Panay, 40% takedown defense, will be allowing takedowns. And Ricci's just going to get on top of her. And she doesn't do a whole lot from that spot. She just, is there. And I think we'll probably see 3 rounds of that kind of grind. And you're right, that leads to about a 95 pointer. Sometimes you get a little above it, but like you can get to 100. Normally, that's a fine score for 89, but on this card, there's so many finishes all over the place that this fight really has to be GPP only. And if you're playing Panay, it's only because there are just no live dogs on this card. And so it's just like, might as well get a little bit of all of them. But yeah, I think Ricci's going to win. I like Ricci as a fighter quite a bit. All right. Mana Martinez taking on Cameron Super Simon. Simon is a minus 300 favorite in this fight with the comeback on Mana Martinez at plus 250. This was another one that is expected to end inside the distance, but just barely with minus 130 odds. Big Marley, how's this one go down stylistically?
I would say that Cameron Saman, he's a well-rounded fighter. I like his aggressiveness all around. I think he'll be the more aggressive, more active striker and wrestler in this one. But Mana Martinez has the more one-punch power. This guy can just dead people with one shot, which is rare at this weight class. So I think at 7,400, Mana has to be in play because he could go out there and get a first-round knockout, score 100-plus points, and just be a lock on the optimal lineup, which I'm cool with. But if he doesn't get the knockout, I think he would have to keep this a 3-round striking match to win a decision. Even in that case, I don't know that he's going to 10x it. So it's really knockout or bust for him to for sure be on the optimal lineup, whereas Saman just has more ways to win. I think he could win a striking match. I think he could get a knockout, maybe a volume type of knockout. He's got power as well. But he could go out there, get takedowns, get a submission along the way. And in his last fight, he was taken down 5 times, but he had 6 reversals in that fight. Scored like 118 points, and I think it was maybe a 3rd-round finish in that one. I'm just more impressed with Saman, so I'm going to pick him to get it done, but it's going to be another domination station type fight for me where I'm fine. If they end up giving me more Mana Martinez than Saman, then that's what it is.
Is that your way of copping out? Because it's like, let the Dom handle it. Because like, let's throw this back. Is Saman doing the kind of things that are required to score well on DraftKings? Are we getting heavy volume out of him? Is he going to get a finish? Does he go?
I mean, 118 points in his one fight. It's pretty damn good score. And it's just a different style matchup because Mana Martinez isn't going to go out there and land 5 takedowns in this one to be reversed 6 times, but it could be Saman who's going for a takedown in each round. I do think his aggressiveness could lead to a high score, and at 8,800, I'm willing to take some shots there. So it's just one where I'm not going to have a big lean either way, but if I'm making 150 lineups, I'm okay with 20% of both sides. And if the DS gives me 5 or 10% more of either one of them, then that's fine with me.
Okay, that's fair. Monk, how do you see this one going down?
I like the younger guy. I like Cameron Simon here. I'm on this side big time. I don't have anything against Mana Martinez. He has, for somebody with such power in his hands, both of his wins are split decision wins over a guy that was almost, I think, over 40 at the time, Guido Canetti. We can chalk that up to a debutante fight. That's fine. But then in his last fight against Brandon Davis, who a lot of people consider like just done, split decision there. I mean, he lost rounds to Brandon Davis. He got taken down 6 times by Lawrence. We're not expecting that from Simon. If anything, Martinez is really hindering himself trying to be as technical as possible, and he's really taken away from his power, I think. I don't know, man. I'm leaning Simon big time on this one. I think if Martinez isn't putting Simon down or isn't having luck on the feet, he's just going to shoot for a lazy takedown. He'll probably get it because Simon obviously doesn't care about being taken down. He will reverse you. He will, get position over you. I like Simon here. I think he's a bit expensive, but man, I was talking to you guys before the show. The $8,800 salary has been on fire. So take this trend, either take the trend or play against the trend. 4 weeks in a row, the $8,800 salary has made it. It can't possibly be 5, right? Right.
I say the trend is not your friend. It comes to an end.
Well, there we go. I mean, I would tend to agree. I would have said that 3 weeks ago, probably. But yeah, I'm leaning Simon here, regardless of the salary. I love the DraftKings upside, and Martinez he's got to prove it to be 83 points in a win. Yeah, at 7,400, that's fine for cash, and it's fine for like, oh, I picked a dog and he won. He scored 83. That's cool. But optimal value for 7,400 is 98. So he's going to have to score 15 points over his average just to be in that conversation. Last thing I'll say, Martinez was training out of Glory MMA and Fitness, which, if you don't know, that was James Krause's gym. Where's he at now? He's, what's going on there? He's had to switch camps. I'm on Simon this week.
I'm flipping it. And not because I don't think Simon is likely to win, but there are some red flags here. The primary one being these are both strikers for the most part. I don't actually see a lot of grappling going to happen. And that's where judges make decisions, right? They're two large men throwing fists at one another. And you know what? Simon is coming out of the South Africa scene. You ain't fighting anybody good out there until you get to the UFC. Plus I need underdogs. I need underdogs that are live at least somewhat. I need hope, because we're going to get to the no hope underdogs in a minute. So these at least have some hope. I think I'm taking a shot on Mana Martinez on DraftKings in some lineups this week. I am much less likely to click the button on Simon because he doesn't do anything outside of an early finish that gets him into the optimal lineup. He's not thrown out enough volume to get there without a finish. And at minus 130 odds to finish the fight.
Well, I would disagree there. I think even in a decision, Simon's the one who could be on the optimal lineup. I don't know that Mana Martinez ends up on the optimal lineup if he wins a decision here, but I'm not playing Mana Martinez for a decision win. I'm playing him for his knockouts. And even though he's got 2 split decision wins in his last fights, he has 4 knockdowns in those 2 fights.
That's what I'm saying. That's Mana.
You land one big shot, and maybe the ref stops it on this one. So that's what I'm targeting Mana for. But I wouldn't say that Simon can't get there without an early finish.
I mean, I don't know how he gets there.
Get there with a late finish, and I think he could get 10x or more in a decision.
Yeah, he scored well over 5 points a minute in his first fight. I mean, like Marley said, dude scored 118 in that fight at a $9,300 salary and did not make the optimal lineup. So I don't know what was going on that week.
It's a crazy card.
He scored 118.
Can't hold that against the guy, but he's not going to have a chance for reversals and 5-pointers 6 times in this fight.
He could be the takedown guy. Like he's not going to be the defensive side, but he could be the offensive side, because that's one really good path to victory over Mana Martinez. It's to take him to the ground.
That's fair. I'm just telling you, as of now, I have not clicked that Simon button yet.
I've made, I think it's less than 10 lineups by hand. I've been doing all my stuff today. So like the last 3 hours I've been working on DraftKings, and I'd say I've made 9 lineups. I know I have 1 Mana and I have 1 Simon. So no real lean for me.
That sounds about right. 10% each. So it's not exactly getting crazy on these guys. All right. Next up, we've got Ian Gary taking on Kenan Song. Gary is a minus 700. So this is minus 700 favorite, massive favorite, 7-1 odds, the whole deal. Kenan Song, plus 500. So pretty much lock button in Gary to win this fight. Ends inside the distance, a strong minus 260. So not only can you kind of be confident that Gary wins, Gary inside the distance is and this is why you can't play Simon. Gary inside the distance is a minus 175, almost 2 to 1 favorite to not just win, but win inside the distance. Big Marley. Those are big numbers. And
if they both win decisions, Simon's going to score more.
Okay, that's fine, but give me minus 175 versus plus 200.
But I'm just saying that's not why you can't play Simon. I think you can. Don't people giving these people bad information.
I'm just saying because they're priced not that far apart. It's like I'm going to click the button for this guy.
But yeah, I think that's the only thing that puts Gary in play is his minus 200 inside the distance line, because he is a striker. He's only going to go out there and look to strike. He's going to have a striking edge in this one. And if he has 3 rounds of striking, even if it's high volume, he's not going to pay off a $9,300 salary. So we're really playing him for that knockout, and more so the early knockout. And he has, I believe, it's like a 38% chance of winning in round 1. So that's more so what I'm targeting with Gary, because if he doesn't win in round 1, I don't think he's on the optimal lineup with this week. So I would say that's where I'll max my Gary exposures, around that first round finishing potential. And if that line changes, maybe my ownership would change with it. But I'll just X out Keenan Song in this one. I just don't think this is a good matchup for him at all. They're both strikers, and Gary is levels above him. So give me Gary by knockout. But if he doesn't get the knockout, he's not going to make it on the optimal lineup over everyone he's priced around.
Gary plus 170 to finish and win in the first round, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Not the best on the card.
I wish it wasn't so freaking good, because I would love to fade Gary at 9,300. But if he's going to get a first round knockout, we might need him.
If we looked at the card as a whole, you'd really just look at Nickel and Gary and a couple and Shavkat and just be like, any one of these guys could score 125, and you got to mix it. You got to split it up, because you can't afford really more than one, the way I see it going down. But how do you see it going down, Big Monk?
I like Machado Gary a lot here. I think he's going to win. I think he'll roll past Song Kanan. But this is exactly why I will have Cameron Simon. I will be able to push that button, because so many people are flocking to 9,300 to 9,200. He's going to be so low owned at 8,800. It's going to be ridiculous for that upside. Personally, if Machado Gary does not get that first round finish, he won't score well. We don't know what this guy's going to do. He put up 109 against Williams. Cool. Very good performance in his first fight. He was $9,500. Then he comes in at 9,200 against Weeks, scores 61.97 points. Then against Gabe Green at 8,800, scores 95. Where this guy's all over the place. How can anyone trust him when you've got guys like Shavkat, Bo Nickel, Valentina frickin' Shevchenko, who's a DraftKings darling? How much Gary are we possibly getting to in a 20? Like, I just don't get it. I like all those people I named better than Gary. Yeah, he has round 1 upside, but we have no idea what he's gonna do. Song Kanan probably not as bad as Jordan Williams, if I had to guess, although he did lose to Max Griffin.
No one's as bad as Jordan Williams.
We mean, he did lose to Max Griffin, though, which he got KO'd in the first round by Max Griffin, which really, makes me want to pump the brakes on my argument here. But I like Machado Gary. I think he's going to win. I hate the little face that he the Patty Pimblett face that he does after every weigh-in. That really bothers me, actually. But I will pick him to win. I like him for cash. I don't know how I'm going to get to him in GPPs. I don't know how I'm going to get to even 25% of Ian Machado Gary here with the killers, the absolute killers I consider around him. So I like him, but I'll be well under the field on this fight as a whole. And don't give me any Keenan Song at all. I don't like this.
I think
for DraftKings.
That's where I was going with that one. I think you can effectively fade Song here amongst many fighters that
I put Grasso in 100% of my lineups before I put Song in
all day. I actually made a Grasso. I have
a ton of Grasso online this week, unfortunately.
I made a Grasso loses, but still scores enough to be in the nuts lineup.
Yep.
Just before, because she could lose and still score enough to be in the nuts. We've seen it happen. We saw it with Volkanovski 3 weeks ago. Like that can happen. So I literally made that lineup just before we got on here. Now, this next fight does feature an underdog that is live. We've got Marc-André Barriault taking on Julian Marquez. This is a close fight on the books with Marc-André Barriault coming in as a solid minus 140 or minus 150 now, with the comeback on Marquez plus 130. And in what was a little bit of a surprise for me, the fight ends inside the distance prop is a pretty solid minus 195. So this is a middling salary fight, 8K, 8,200. With a reasonably high inside the distance prop minus 195. Big Marley, you can get a favorite here, an 8,200 for a minus 150 favorite. But on the flip side, there are almost no underdogs that have like even decent odds. And the dog odds on Marquez plus 127, that's as good as you're getting sub 8,100 on this card. So how do you see this one going down?
Yeah, I like Marquez as the more dangerous fighter. He's probably got more one-shot KO power, better submission skills. But I like Barriault to be our minute winner here. And Marquez's 3 wins are all by submission. He's never landed a takedown in the UFC. That's not something I like to back up on, to back the truck up on. So I think Barriault is going to be able to keep this fight on the feet or land the takedowns of his own. We saw Patolo look like a D1 wrestler over Marquez. So I think Barriault could go out there and land multiple takedowns if he really wanted to. But I see this fight mostly playing out on the feet. I'm picking Barriault to win a decision. I doubt that scores much over 10x. So I'm just not super interested in the fight as a whole. But I won't X either one of them out of my player pool. It'll be more like a 10% type thing on each side. But give me Barriault to win by a fairly clear decision. And I bet him at minus 125. So I like him to get the win.
It is not easy to build lineups without using this fight, Big Marley. It's not easy. You need the numbers.
It'll be more of a MME thing for me. Like, I'm cool with the domination station throwing this into my lineups, but I highly doubt this fight ends up in my single entry.
I'm amazed that Barriault has been in the UFC for as long as he has. Like, he's now, I mean, this is like his 10th fight in the UFC, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. I'm liking Barriault here for the same reasons. I won't be playing Julian Marquez at all. I don't trust him. I don't like the guy. I don't think he has good fight IQ. I don't think he has regular good IQ at all. I mean, you saw what happened with Miley Cyrus. Need I fucking say more? But Marquez also gives up almost or over 4.5 points a minute and 110 on average per loss, while Barriault has been scoring 104.5 in his last 3 wins. I like the Barriault side. His strength of schedule is leaps and bounds better than Julian Marquez. Marquez subbed Sam Alvey. That's what he did. That's what he's done in his past 5 fights. He subbed Sam Alvey. He got knocked down 3 times in a row by RoboCop. He subbed Mackie Patolo at the 3rd round. Very close fight in which he might have been losing before that sub, to be completely honest. And then he beat Darren Stewart back in 27. Like, these
That's not a bad win. That's not a bad win.
I mean,
the dentist. You take out the dentist.
Yeah, Darren Stewart's rolling through the division nowadays, isn't he? But Marquez's best win is Sam Alvey. Like, I don't trust him at all. Give me MAB all day at 8,200. And as far as this being a fight, I don't like this fight to roster. If anything, I'd much rather pay up $200 for that fighter, or I'd much rather pay down $200 for that fighter. So I think there's definitely a bigger fight that you could put with bigger repercussions in your lineups. I even almost prefer the Arajo Hebus fight to this one, to be completely honest, for DraftKings. So yeah, I'll be fading this one, but I like Barriault to win. I cannot stand Julian Marquez. I can't stand him.
Yeah, I don't. Marc-Andre Barriault is really tough because this guy looks different every time he fights, or at least he's looked dramatically different from fight to fight to my eyes. Like, he did not come out. It looked like a different guy against Fluffy than what you saw against Jordan Wright. Now, Jordan Wright is Jordan Wright, so okay, but he looked like a different guy, like almost like he had been juicing and then stopped. Like, I don't want to say that he had been juicing and stopped. I'm just saying it looked like it. Like, where'd the energy go? I don't know. So, I would definitely not bet on this fight. Let me put it down. Dude, this is, for me, not bettable. Yeah, not a fan of Marquez either. So I'm going to lean Barriault here. He's got a fun name to say. That helps. He's actually from Quebec.
Barriault is this week's Sakai.
You think so?
Not going to do great on DraftKings probably, but he's going to go out there and win clearly.
Let's say that means I have to fucking talk good about Julian Marquez.
But there it is. So I've always kind of liked Barriault as an underdog, but now he's a favorite and it's kind of weird. But yeah, Julian Marquez has shown nothing. If you just look at the volume of these two guys, if they're strikers, Barrio averaging over 5 strikes per minute, Julian Marquez down at 4 strikes per minute. The striking defense is horrible for both of them. So decision coming.
Yeah, I would. The last thing I would add is the Marquez, another guy that used to train out of Glory MMA and Fitness. Where is he at now? Where's his head at now?
Maybe better because their coach was feeding them losses so he can make money on the sports book.
Well, apparently that coach was the only guy that could get through to Julian Marquez. Apparently he's a fucking blockhead, and no other coach has been able to do that. So
that's a lot of Krause's guys, but it's a lot of Krause's guys are like that. Like, isn't he also
easily manipulatable? Yeah, weird.
Wasn't he coaching Tim Elliott, like the worst fight IQ fighter, in the UFC? So there we go. I like Barrio here as well. Give me minus 150 odds for 8,200. That is skewed in our favor. Big Marley, how about fight goes to decision at plus money? Straight fight goes to decision.
I'd rather just bet Barrio
plus 160. Plus, you want to play minus 150? I'm trying to get a plus money bet here. Plus,
I'm picking him to win a decision, but I think he could finish Marquez on the feet or the ground. And then if Marquez is going to win, it's going to be a finish. So I don't know. I'd rather stick with my Barrio bet.
There we go. I like it. All right. Now I see what's moving the line. Big Marley puts a play out. Fucking.
Well, I had seen the line was going to be moving, so I ended up jumping on it before I even capped it. I was like, I think he's going to win. I feel like it's too tight of a line. I'm doing it.
That was me on Sunday of last week on my Sakai bet before. I was like, what is this? This is a weird line. Let me hit this.
Yeah, it felt the same.
Yeah.
I hit that one before I even capped it. I was like, it shouldn't be that tight. I mean, I know I definitely favor this guy.
Next up, we've got a fight that's really tough to call and really tough to want to play on DraftKings at all. Like, this is not a good fantasy fight. Vivian Arahu taking on Amanda Ribas. Now Ribas is now minus 115. This is effectively a pick 'em. Ribas started minus 140, so a little steam came in, and then it flipped around. And these two women for me are like the same person. I'm going to give you the inside the distance prop, but it's not good. Yeah, here we go. Fight ends inside the distance, plus 180, so it's not great. And I don't know, Big Marley. To me, these are the same fighter. They're like the same person. They both kind of just in the split decision loss to Chikugian level. They're like exactly at the same place. I think they're going to negate each other. It's like a tug of war with two people who are basically the same strength. It's just like nothing happens.
Yeah, if that's the case and it's a split decision type of fight, then we probably won't need it on DraftKings. I think that they're both good fighters. They're both well-rounded, but I would favor Ribas in a grappling match, and I would favor Araujo in a striking match. If there's a submission in this fight, it's going to be Ribas. If there's a knockout in this fight, it's going to be Araujo. And Ribas has a questionable chin. So I am picking Vivian Araujo to win this fight by knockout. So I like her a lot more than the field is going to like her this week. She is a play
that I
think will be low owned. But at the same time, if she doesn't get a knockout, she probably doesn't want to grapple with Ribas too much. So I doubt she lands more than 1 or 2 takedowns throughout this fight. And if it's a striking-based decision, then she probably scores around 10x and doesn't end up on the optimal lineup. So I'm targeting the knockout this week. She's got power, real power for a woman. And Ribas has been knocked out by decent strikers, but she was knocked out by Poliana Viana. That's not great. She was dropped by Jandaroba, maybe somebody that she should
Marina Rodriguez.
By. So I think that Araujo can go out there and knock her out in any round. So I'm going to go overweight to her as a favorite. I'll probably be underweight, if not fading Ribas.
88% takedown defense for Vivian or 90% for Vivian and 88% for Ribas here, Monk. I don't know that there's going to be a ton of success in the going for takedowns and achieving them, even though both of these fighters do like to grapple.
Well, if that's the case, I'm right there with Marley here. I'm favoring Araujo. If you're telling me this is a stand-up fight, Ribas has a super suspect chin. as Marley said, did get dropped by Jandiroba, did get dropped by Marina Rodriguez, which is not something you generally see out of Marina. Araujo scores 3.3 points a minute. I really like the dog side here. I think she can beat Ribas in a fight, stand-up battle, and I think that she can find that chin as well. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen as, only one finish for these women, but it is on the Ribas side. She did get KO'd TKO'd by Rodriguez there, so it has happened before. If Marina Rodriguez is knocking you out, I mean, Viviani can definitely knock you out. So
Marina's a good striker.
give me she's not bad, but she's like, if I'm comparing the two, like they don't even look in my head anyways, they don't even look like they're the same weight class. Like Araujo's arms are gigantic. I really just think that she can finish Ribas here. She's shown her flaws before. I'd like to see Amanda win. I like her as a person. It's like the opposite of how I feel about Julian Marquez. Maybe not as extreme, but yeah, I'd like to see that win, but I really think the dog can get it done here. And at 7,900, I don't mind putting her in a few of my lineups. She's going to be very, very low owned. Again, women's flyweight fights, 55% optimal, guys. Second best weight class to target overall. And you guys are constantly 20% under where you should be. We're giving up 20% leverage on women's flyweight fight because no one will put them in their lineup. So that's fine. Keep fading them. And smart guys like us will put them in our lineups.
I smell a kill shot coming.
Oh, shit.
Marley's got a smirk on his face like you just fucking took my kill shot. Look at him. Look at him.
Spoiler alert, I will not be taking that as my kill shot.
Feel it. I liked it, Matt. Listen, you guys convinced me here. I'm on it. You both have now officially, because I looked at this fight like, meh, not playing it. You've convinced me. I'll play a little bit of Araujo. I don't think Ribas has any path to scoring well against the 90% takedown defense opponent. What's she gonna do? But yeah, give me the knockout power of the old lady here. Usually the older one, the younger one is got the power, but here we got the older one.
Gap here.
Yeah, a little age gap. That's all right. All right. Next up, we've got Derek Brunson, D. Rockefeller, taking on Drixus Duplessis. Duplessis is a minus 225 favorite. Coming back on Brunson at plus 185. The fight goes to a decision, or fight ends inside the distance, is a solid but surprisingly low minus 215 for this fight. Has this moved? Somebody betting this? Yeah. I know. Actually, it got wow. Okay. So Big Marley, this is already a little bit of a surprise for me. Brunson is in this fight. Brunson is a guy who either gets knocked out or wins the fight, right? He's got two paths, but more often than not, he's getting knocked out. But here, the inside the distance prop is not as intense as what I was thinking at all. Minus 215 is not that high, Big Marley. And I think if it ends inside I'm a little surprised there. So I don't know. How do you see this one going down stylistically?
Well, I'd say the inside the distance line is kind of just based on the DDP side of this one, because you're right. It's either Brunson's going to get knocked out or he's going to win the fight. That's how I see it going down, because if this fight goes all 15 minutes, it probably means that Brunson is having wrestling success and
Brunson's winning rounds.
Yeah. And if he wins the fight, he's definitely scoring more than 10x and likely, more than 100 points, at least more than 90 points. He never scores less than 90 points when he gets a win. And even in his last loss, he lost in the second round in his last fight, still scored 48 DraftKings points. So this is just an underdog we have to target in just hopes of his chin holding up. However, I think that his chin it's too far gone. And if he's not having 3 rounds of wrestling success here, I just think that Duplessis is going to knock him out. I've been fading Duplessis all along. It hasn't been working out for me. I just am not a fan of his style. And then after one round, he's out there looking like he's fully gassed, but he just fights through it somehow. So I just don't understand this guy, but it's going to be the first time that I am backing DDP. I think he goes out there and gets a first round knockout in this one. So I like him a lot.
You just gave DDP the kiss of death.
However, I like him a lot. I'm going to have a lot of DDP, but if I'm hand building a lineup and DDP's not in there, I'm probably throwing Brunson in. This is the fight I want in most of my lineups, not all in, but like maybe 90% of my lineup. So if I'm cool going overweight to both sides of this one, ideally I will be overweight to both sides. And if I didn't like, I mean, I don't like a lot of underdogs, but there's like 5 or 6 underdogs I like a decent amount that I'm just going to be mixing them in and then fading the others. So
let's point those
end up
out.
in a decent amount.
Let's keep pointing those out. This is one of them.
Yeah, it's definitely one of them.
Vivi and Derek so far.
Yeah, and if I'm rooting for either one of these guys, it's definitely Brunson because he's given me a lot of success at the betting window where I'm 0 against this other guy.
There we go. Monk, I'm going to throw some numbers at you, but these are really the important numbers for me. Aside from we know that Derek Brunson has chin issues, but my boy Brunson is going for almost 4 takedowns per 15 minutes. And Drixus is a very willing to go down kind of a guy. 50% takedown defense. That's very bad. Again, flip side, Derek Brunson, very difficult to take down. 89% takedown defense. So while both of these fighters effectively go for takedowns, number one, Derek Brunson's history, and this is only showing the last 5, but he has fought maybe 20 times in the UFC at this point. We know what he's there to do. And he is no longer out there trying to throw fist and win. You know, he's going for takedowns. He's wrestling.
Yeah,
Can he keep it up for 3 rounds?
I don't know about that, but what I do know is this is a fight that you absolutely must target. The DraftKings upside for both guys is through the freaking roof. 4.63 points a minute for Derek Brunson in his last 5, 109 per win. Duplessis is 5 points a minute, 106 per win. These guys are right around their average salaries, which is great. Both guys land, Brunson lands over 2 points a minute in takedowns and control time. Duplessis is a 1.5. It's absolutely crazy. Duplessis has been, he does, only the 50% takedown defense, but he's only giving up 0.4 takedowns per 15 minutes. That is going to be tested here against Brunson. But that said, like Marley said, if Duplessis could just finish him in the first round, not something I'm really expecting. I would be surprised by that, but in a good way. I'm on the Duplessis side here as well. I don't mind him as a fighter. It did scare me that second round against Darren Till, who just got released today, if Twitter is to be believed. That did scare me a little. Like you said, his cardio issues seem to be prevalent. Hopefully he's taking care of a little bit of that. But Brunson, I was going to argue with you about his chin. Obviously, he's been knocked out 5 times in his UFC career. I believe in his UFC. Yeah, 5 times. 5 of his 6 losses, KO, TKOs. But over his last 5, he hasn't technically been knocked down. I know he got viciously KO'd by Jared Cannonier, but he hasn't been knocked down before that. And he's fought some strike Edmund Shabazian, Kevin Holland, Darren Till. Not a world beating lineup, but he hasn't been knocked down.
What did he do? What did he do against those? Kevin Holland.
Yeah, exactly. 3 takedowns, 6 takedowns, 4 He's landed tons of takedowns in his past fights here. Duplessis is really going to have his hands full. I think you have to play both sides for sure, and I'll be over on both sides, close to 100% of this fight. It's
an ass pucker situation. Anytime you see Derek Brunson standing and exchanging strikes, it is just when you've bet on him, you're nervous.
Yeah,
he's going to get knocked out at any second. He looks like he's going to get knocked out at any second, and then it does happen. And the other thing is he sort of quits on occasion midway, like in the second round, if he's not getting his way. So, but with all that being said, I love both sides of this fight. Derek Brunson will be one of my higher owned underdogs just because I love both sides of this fight. And if he does win, he's going to score well. Derek Brunson has won me DraftKings tournaments throughout his career, especially when he was an underdog. That is your best time, or when he's being low owned or whatever. So yeah, give me some Brunson here. And he's just got to hold the guy down. Literally everybody who talks about Duplessis says the same thing. I don't really like him, but maybe this isn't the spot to fade. You know what? Fuck that. Why does everybody not like him that much?
I don't know. I think it's because people hate on this dude. They hate on his style. I don't get it personally. I think he's a decent fighter.
What's wrong with the style?
Yeah, Brunson's also going to be 10 years older, but he does have the best value per win on the card. 16x on average over his last 4 wins, guys. You got to play both sides.
This guy scores well when he wins. He's plus 185. That is not such long odds. He's one of the better odds underdogs. There's a couple others similar, but he's on the better side of the odds table. But more importantly, he's on the, if he wins, he's definitely going to be in the optimal side, where I can say some of these other names like even Marquez or even Mana, or Mana probably wins in the nuts as well. But some of these other underdogs that we might want to target, they might not be in the nuts. They might just win.
I would say that Derek Brunson's the only underdog that if he wins, he's a lock.
Yeah, you lock it in. Him and Cyril. Yeah,
not even Cyril. So I think over
5
Cyril.
rounds of action. I think he'll get there. But yeah, it's got to be Brunson. Lock it in. He is 100%. So like at plus 185, you could pretty much say the odds of this guy being in the nuts are the same as his win odds, plus 185. That puts us at about 35%. Fine.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. And my worry for this fight would be that Brunson wins 2 rounds of wrestling, gets knocked out in the 3rd round, then neither guy scores well. But my favorite play of this fight is on Underdog Fantasy. They have Duplessis at 1.5 takedowns, which is because he had 6 takedowns over Darren Till, somebody who's easy to take down.
You're going the under.
But we're going the under because Derek Brunson has 22 fights of information. Never has he been taken down twice in a fight, but he's only been taken down twice in those 22 fights. So if DDP is the guy who's gonna be the first to take him down twice, when he's the one who should be out there striking, then I'm wrong, I guess. But I'd say I want that in every single play I make on Underdog.
I love it. Now you're gonna make me. I did Prize Pick. Now I got to look at Underdog. Got some freebies. Yeah. Now we're gonna take a look at Underdog.
That's the one I felt best about. Like not ever, because they gave us some striker like to be under 2.5 a long time ago, AJ Dobson. But aside from that one, this is my most confident underdog pick of all time. Yeah,
I love it, man. We gotta use that. Okay, if you're out there, Sniper and Will Lynn, get on this. Okay, next up we got Cody Garbrandt taking on Trevin Jones. Garbrandt coming in as a -165 favorite, with a comeback on Trevin Jones of plus 145. The fight ends inside the distance. Prop is a solid -260. And Big Marley, like that number for a couple of, little guys. It's all about that chin of Garbrandt. Can it hold up? Can it hold up? Can he take a punch? Is he healed from his brain injuries? How did Garbrandt become 31 years old? And if he's 31, how old are you? All of these questions will be answered and more by Big Marley right now.
Maybe not actually, but I don't think the chin holds up. I'm on the Garbrandt fade. I would say not whoever the opponent is, but any opponent that is UFC material that has power in their hands, I am willing to take a shot against Garbrandt at this point, because Garbrandt just does not look the same. He hasn't looked the same basically since Cruz.
Let me ask a question. Did TJ Dillashaw take his soul? Is that what he took his soul?
Probably did.
I'm sorry, but that is what happened. There was so much shit talking. There was so much smack. And then TJ Dillashaw, he fucking did a fatality for Mortal Kombat, sucked the soul out of Cody Garbrandt, and never gave it back. That's what happened. He took his soul. It's fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. And he just doesn't look the same. Like I'm going to completely fade Cody Garbrandt this week. I would say skill versus skill. Cody's the better striker. He's the better boxer for sure. I would say he's the better wrestler also. It's just that he's not high paced on the feet. He doesn't wrestle, especially enough for him to score well. And even if he gets a knockout, it's probably got to be in the first round. He got a knockout over a Sunsao, scored 88 points. You score 88 points on this card at 8,500, you're not going to make the optimal lineup. So I'm going to fade Cody Garbrandt this week. And I like Trevin Jones a lot because I'm fading Cody's chin. I think Trevin Jones is going to go out there and get a first round knockout and be on the optimal lineup this week. So I will be overweight to him. But it's another thing where if he doesn't get that first round knockout, I don't think he's going to be a great minute-to-minute scorer. I think it'll be a slower-paced striking match that he might not even have the better of unless he's getting the knockout. And then either guy could look to mix in wrestling, but neither guy's going to be chain wrestling, landing 5 to 10 takedowns in this spot. So I think it would be more of a submission that we would need from Jones rather than a grappling heavy decision. So it's kind of knockout or bust on DraftKings, but he's an underdog. I'm targeting against Garbrandt's chin with a guy who has knocked out Mario Bautista and Timur Valiev. And his losses are against people who I would pick to beat Cody Garbrandt also. So give me Trevin Jones in this one. He's my first or second favorite underdog on the card.
First or second favorite underdog. That is a ringing endorsement for Trevin Jones. Monk, the stats here, not that good in terms of scoring well, right? Cody Garbrandt, just over 3 strikes per minute, landed 1 takedown on average. Trevin Jones, even worse, only 2 strikes. If he's a striker, he's landing 2 strikes per minute. What is he doing for the rest of the minute? What are you doing out there? Dancing around.
Yeah, Marley broke this one down perfectly. I'm on the Jones side as well. I mean, I think Garbrandt has potential to be, like he said, I think he's got better hands. I think he's got better wrestling. I think he's got probably better cardio. His chin is such a liability that you can't even play those things. It outweighs all of those things. On top of that, we're paying up $160 over his average salary from the past 2 fights. Both guys, I mean, Garbrandt over his past 5, 1.8 points per minute. We're in the Derek Lewis zone here. What's that in baseball? The Mendoza line. We'll put that at 2 points a minute. Cody Garbrandt is under. We'll call it the Lewis line. He's under the Lewis line. That's a trademark, by the way. Nobody else can take that shit. Trevin Jones, you can use it, but you got to credit me. Trevin Jones.
RTM.
Yeah, exactly. 2.09 points a minute for Jones. Not doing anything. I mean, he scored 94 when he won by knockout against, like Marley said, Mario Batista. Very impressive win, in my opinion. Very impressive. His 3 losses, Said Yakub Kakramanov, who should still be in the UFC, one of the Bash brothers, Javid in this case, and Ione Barcelos. Again, like Marley said, 3 guys that should beat Cody. Cody did the old, I got knocked down a million times. I'm going to go down to flyweight and work on Kai Kara France. These little boys don't have a chance against me. Then he got put down at 125. Now he's coming back up to 135. Like, this guy's we saw Jordan Wright last week, and who else had a terrible? This guy's chin is worse than all those guys. Jordan Wright, everybody. You can't trust it. This is either a setup fight for Garbrandt, like a get right fight. They give him Trevin Jones, who has literally 9 losses on his record. Like, come on, we're giving this dude Trevin Jones, and he could come out here and starch Garbrandt. I love Trevin Jones this week. Garbrandt definitely could win. This could be a get right fight, which does worry me. But my God, that dude's chin is trash.
I think he's in there. They put Turner in there to lose to Garbrandt, but will that happen?
Yeah, exactly right. They gave Garbrandt Jones, like, here, get right. You've lost $1 million in a row. Your chin is awful. We feel bad for you because you were a former champ. What if Jones comes out here and absolutely starts you? Are we going to give Garbrandt another fight? We're going to be in a real Augusto Sakai situation if that's the case.
I thought we were getting into a BJ Penn scenario.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah, doesn't look good.
Out.
Cody's headed to Power Slap after this.
Oh Jesus!
That's not going to do anything good
about
for his
cruel
chin.
and unusual. He's going to die on that show.
Yeah, that won't do anything well for his chin.
He's going to get viewers though.
Could. Power Slap's a stupid idea. I'm sorry. It's a stupid idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless you guys are wanting to hire me, then I love the idea.
Yeah, then I'm totally behind it. I literally can't. I can't even watch it. It's like trying to watch. It's like showing me a beheading video. I can't even watch it, dude.
It's just a stupid idea. It's like, that's like some Russian bullshit sport that they're bringing to America. Like, leave that in the third world where it belongs. All right. This one doesn't even require much analysis other than to discuss really the potential for DraftKings scoring and like the price versus like how much exposure we should get. So effectively, Bo Nickal is being handed Jamie Pickett on a silver platter for a win. Bo Nickal, like, supreme wrestling maniac machine, awesome athlete. This guy is the phenom of all phenoms. Minus -1,700, but not just -1,700 to win the fight. The win inside the distance prop is -735. And get this, under fight ends in round, doesn't start round 2, which is fight doesn't start round 2. Here it is -230. So it's 2-1, more than 2-1 that this fight ends in round 1 with a Bo Nickal win. So here's my thing. Like, what are we going to do? This is a wrestler against a guy who's not very good, and Jamie Pickett. Let's keep it real. Big Marley, I don't need the full breakdown. What I need to know is, for DraftKings purposes, we got this wrestler, right? What if he gets a takedown and at a minute 5 locks in the sub? Only scores 97. He's not throwing strikes. So how much weight do we put into, can he do this in 60 seconds? And does he need to do it in 60 seconds to be worthwhile? Can Pickett get up and get at least a second takedown? Like, how do we deal with the fantasy part of this 9,600 for Bo Nickal locked into a win?
I mean, I wish I knew, because that would just make the slate a whole lot easier. It's just going to come down to, do you want to be overweight or underweight to Bo Nickal? I think he decides this slate. He is by far the easiest to win on the slate. This is a hand-picked fight for him to go out there and have a highlight reel finish. This is a guy who he's making his UFC debut, but he could win the title right now just because this is a striking-based division, and he is the best wrestler by far in the division. So he could go out there and just have his way with Pereira or Izzy on the mat. But if he's somehow struggling with takedowns or they beat him to the striking, then he's probably getting knocked out by those guys. But Pickett is not a guy who's really got a shot unless, I mean, he's a big, powerful dude. Like, you look at Pickett, I wouldn't want to fight him, that's for sure. But he just doesn't knock guys out like you would think he would by looking at him. So he's not a power puncher. He isn't a jiu-jitsu guy who's going to give Nickal problems on the mat. So it's really just a hand-picked fight for this guy to go out there and get a finish. And he's more likely to finish than everybody else on the whole card is to even win. And last week, we were in the same spot last week with Suarez. I ended up going underweight. I was 25% Suarez.
The right move. She didn't score enough.
Yeah, so I was on the right side last week, and it was really because of Monk's stats. He gave us last week the $9,600 salary, had won 3 out of 18 times. Like, that is not good, and that's kind of what's keeping me on the same thing here. I don't know that I want to take a shot on a 3 out of 19 salary, but I'm more willing to this week. So I think it's either you're going to go 25% or less Nickal this week, or you're going 75% or all in. I think that's the only possible way you can go, because he's going to be 55% owned, something like that. So you have to just take a stand one way or the other. And I'm in the same boat where I don't know which side I'll be on. Like Suarez last week, I ended up being underweight to Suarez when I wasn't sure. I was okay with locking her in. If you sold me on that, I would have been cool with doing that. Same thing this week. I think I'm more likely to lock Bo Nickal in this week than I was Suarez last week, because it's just so much of a clearer win, and he has more ways to get there, because not only can he get a submission, but he can knock this guy out within 60 seconds, or he could suplex him 6 times in the first round before he knocks him out. Like, there's a lot of ways for Bo Nickal to get there. He's scoring 100+ points.
It's so hard to know. Like, can Pickett get up from his takedown? Will he even try? Like, there's so many things. And most importantly, Monk, can he get it done in 60 seconds?
Well, I would say if he gets it done in 60 seconds, he's a lock on the optimal, but I think he's a lock for 100+ points. I don't think it comes down to when he gets it done. I think it comes down to what the people priced below him do. If he scores 110 points, that's cool. But maybe 3 people below him score more than 110 points, and that's what kicks him off the optimal lineup. So,
or just the fact
Bo Nickal decides what you do with this card. I think the 3 out of 19, man, the 3 out of 19 is going to lean me towards the under.
On a card with very few live dogs, and we've mentioned a few underdogs that are okay, but not really, right? There are very few real live dogs. Brunson's pretty good, but like a lot of these guys should probably lose their fights. With very few of them, it's that 9,600 forces multiple sub 8K plays, at least 2 in your lineup, and probably 2.5. Like, you need to do 2 of those and a Marquez or Vivian or one of those middling salary fights. So you can't afford it. So he needs to put up a monster score. Can he do it? Is it worth it?
Yeah, I don't know. We're like Marley said, we're at 3 of 19. That's less than 16% optimal. I think the big difference here is the quality of opponent. Tatiana Suarez versus Montana De La Rosa. While it was a very wide gap, in my opinion, the skill gap here is more like this. Bo Nickel. I mean, Jamie Pickett shouldn't even be a fight that is sanctioned, to be completely honest. Nickel should absolutely run through him. It's just a matter of how you expect him to score. The average salary or average points scored per optimal for this salary is 134.53. And that is the 3 times. One of those is Marvin Vettori over Kevin Holland, in which he put up 156. I can't remember the other ones off the top of my head, but I assume they were like 120s area, 130s there. So it really just depends on when you think Nickel is going to get it done. The only thing I will say is I haven't decided if and I agree with Marley, I'm going to either be low or extremely high on Nickel. Your exposure, if Nickel is indeed 55%, we're getting tons of leverage on Valentina Shevchenko. We're now getting tons of leverage on Ian Machado, Gary, Shavkat Rakhmonov. I think every other 9K fighter, you should add 10. If you're going under Nickel, add 10, 15% to every other 9K fighter, because no one's going to be able to get to them. If you're playing Nickel and another 9K, you've got Grasso in your lineup. You've got 69, and you've got some throwaways in your lineup.
You're taking zeros.
You're taking zeros and hoping for the best for five guys. So that is an interesting way to play this. Just know that the rest of the 9K people who should absolutely roll and possibly score better than Nickel, are all going to be owned under what they should be because of Nickel. And you could if he scores 110, 100, he put up 102 against I know this is Dana White Contender Series. 1 minute, he fought for 1.03 minutes, and he put up 102 points. If that happens, all you're going to hear is the sad trombone sound. Wah, wah. You threw away $9,600 over and over and over and over and over again. So don't play Jamie Pickett. Even if he does win, his average per win is 66. Play Bo Nickel if you want, but I will probably be under, man. And of course I say that, and he's gonna score 130 and he's gonna be on the optimal lineup. So
listen, you just
got to decide for yourself.
We have to acknowledge the fact of exactly what you said. He finished his fight in 1 minute and 3 seconds. Had that fight been finished 4 seconds faster, you're adding 30 points to the score, and now 102 is a 132. Oh my God. If you don't have it, you're out. Like a 132 is so good that Alexa Grasso's 40 points in a loss is enough, as long as it allowed you to get there. So that's the consideration here. We're playing on this guy finishing in 60 seconds or after. If he finishes after 60 seconds, did Pickett get up a few times? Did he get a chance to multiple? Is he going crazy, like multi-timing, suplexing him, like lifting him back up just so he could smash him down again, or doing that kind of thing?
The formula here is you need quick, significant strikes. You need a quick knockdown in which the guy bounces right back up. Then you need to not stop, get another quick knockdown, 2 knockdowns, less than a minute, plus a finish. That's how you score 130 points. Is that going to happen?
Or he just gets it done in 60 seconds.
Well, he could also go out there, get a takedown in the first 60 seconds, and then punch this guy for 4 minutes and get a late first round finish and score 130.
Get there.
And I before we got on this podcast, I spent like 2-3 hours watching Bo Nickel vlogs and wrestling highlights. So like I'm the biggest Bo Nickel fan right now, but still that $9,600 price tag is, 3 out of 19 times. It's not that there had been 3 out of 19 good fighters at 9,600. They were all great fighters. It's just that you're somehow priced out of the optimal lineup with that. So I think that'll put me underweight. But Rainmakers, I don't have any big wins or any big sales to brag about for Rainmakers this week, but that's the spot where you want to play Bo Nickel. There is no salary in Rainmakers. You want the 5 highest scorers. Pay extra for Bo Nickel this week on Rainmakers. Every other week, that's not a must, but he's going to be a top 5 scorer.
Buying that Bo Nickel card is probably going to pay off a couple more times this year as well. Like every single fight that he's going to be in,
it'll be a favorite. Unless
will
they
be.
put him right in the title picture next fight. Yeah,
They won't. You know they don't do that. Like he's
They
got to
did with
prove
Pereira,
Pereira because he had beaten.
and they
Well, he
him.
had a
love
few fights
but
along
they
the way,
love
but
Bo Nickel more than they like for Dana. Bo Nickel is like Dana White's like
Maybe
he's
they
licking
will.
his
Maybe they
lips
will.
over here.
We just hope he's not another Ben Askren. Who's that wrestler dude? Who?
yeah, he's not a Ben Askren.
I don't think he's a Ben Askren.
Yeah, like, and then we find out, oh, he can't strike at all. Like, we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's not gonna beat a lot of guys in a 15-minute striking match right now, but he has knockout power in both hands. He could kick a guy in the head and knock him out.
You see him suplex
and he's
Gary
super green,
Tonin?
so he's a future champion.
You were watching highlights. You watch him suplex Gary Tonin?
Gary,
that was crazy.
I watched him. Who's the unstoppable guy right now? Not Gary Tonin. It's the
who's the. I'm not thinking of the right guy.
Gordon Ryan.
Right, that's who I meant. That's
yeah. I did watch that fight. Right, yeah. I saw him get that suplex. That was nice, but he can do that to anybody in the 185 division, and that's the thing. If he wants to suplex Pickett and pick him back up and do it again, there's nothing Pickett's going to do about it.
Will he do that, or does he?
I'd be surprised if Pickett's going to look like Megan Anderson when she fought Nunes.
And again, on a reminder for me on Prize Picks, the fight to finish in the first round prop is one of my most confident props I've ever seen. I love your play on underdog as well, but the Prize Picks one, you could just anchor 2 spots and just play them with a second and a second, and just. You go nickel and this one, nickel and that one, nickel and that one. You use them as your anchor for all these different versions. I wish I could pair up your under. Who was it again on underdog? The under 1.5 for
1.5 takedowns for Duplessis.
Yeah, for Duplessis. I wish I could pair that one up with this one and then just kind of go nuts on it. But unfortunately, they're not offering that just yet. All right. Next up, we've got Jalen Turner taking on Mateusz Gamrot. Gamrot comes in as a minus 220 favorite. The comeback on Jalen Turner, plus 180. Minus 195 on this fight to end inside the distance. Big Marley, Tarantula, has looked good in his UFC career in every fight for the most part. But now he's a pretty nice little underdog against Gamrot, who is very much kind of a wrestler. So how do you see this one playing out? I have to say, the Tarantula has not been a fighter that gets taken down very frequently. I'll pull up his stats, but how do you think it goes down?
I think he was taken down. What was it, Matt Frivola? I believe he was taken down.
Yeah, Frivola was the only one. Still a 77% takedown.
Better wrestler than. Yeah. Well, either way, I do think that Turner can be taken down multiple times in this fight, maybe 5 to 10 times in this fight. So I think that Gamrot is our minute winner here. If this goes to the decision, I would favor Gamrot to win that, and it probably means he did land takedown to win minutes. However, I think if there's a finish, whether it's or the ground, I kind of like Turner to be that guy. And Turner's dangerous, dude. I like Turner a lot, just in general. And I'm picking Turner to get that finish because I think he has a big striking edge in this fight. And Gamrot, he is a good wrestler. He's good at going for takedowns and getting takedowns, but he's not good at controlling guys. He doesn't even average a minute of control time per takedown. So I think that Turner's probably getting back up and just causing damage on the feet. And if Gamrot's getting 6 takedowns in this fight, I think he's going to slow down as the fight moves along, and Turner could put him out late if he doesn't get it early. So I'm taking Turner to get a finish. Could be any round, could be on the feet, could be the ground. He's the other favorite that I was talking about with Trevin Jones. Those are my guys I'm taking a stand on this week. So you guys can all build the same lineups as me. That's where I'm going this week. Give me Turner to get a finish. But at the same time, I'm much more interested in Gamrot than I am in Garbrandt. I will X out Garbrandt in that fight. It's Jones or pass for me, whereas I do want some Gamrot exposure because he could score 100 points in a decision win here, and that could be enough at 8,600. So Turner's going to be closer to a core play, but I still don't want burned too much on the Gamrot side, and I'll still have like 20% or something there.
I love it. I love it. Monk, I mean, the numbers say Turner really good at stopping takedowns. He's tall, very long fighter for the weight class, 6'3", tons of reach. He's a very, very large fellow.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for Gamrot to get in on him, which is obviously his path to success here. I can't look away from the Turner side. I'm going to be first of all, you got to go all in on this fight. I mean, these guys, Gamrot's made optimal 2 out of his past 5. Turner, 3 out of his past 3 fights, guys. There's only like 7 fighters with at least 3 wins, 100% win rate, 100% optimal rate in the entire UFC right now. And Jalen Turner is one of them. You're going to give me that guy, optimal fighters that fight optimally. You're going to give me this guy, 5.5 a minute, 113.5 per win, 13.73 average value per win, outscores his opponents by over 3 points a minute. And you're going to knock $850 off of his average salary? Yes, please give me Jalen Turner all day. He scores 106.5 when he wins by KO, 118 when he wins by sub. You're going to tell me Gamrot's not going to get a takedown and Jalen Turner is immediately going to be throwing triangles, immediately going to be looking for submissions, reversals. His strength of schedule is 6-7 points better than Gamrot. And yeah, the name value might not say so because Gamrot lost to Dariush Sarukian. Then he lost to like Fajeda. Jeremy Stevens has a terrible record. Scott Holtzman, not great. Meanwhile, Jalen Turner's, Brad Riddell, Malarkey, Uros Medic, Josh Kulibau, who only has 1 loss in the UFC, finished him. He's out here finishing dudes, putting up 115 a win. I absolutely love Jalen Turner. He will be my highest owned dog. I'm probably going 80-20 on this fight, but I'll be 100% owned. I might even just lock Turner. I might say F it and lock Turner. Him and probably the guy we talk about in the next fight are going to be locks for me, and I'll just build around Turner and Shavkat Rakhmonov, as we'll call him. But yeah, I love Turner here. I think he can hand Gamrot his 2nd loss in a row. That said, Gamrot is a beast, and you should absolutely play both sides of this fight.
I mean, Gamrot averaging 4.5 takedowns. We all remember, the UFC debut. I believe he took an L to another crazy, Eastern European lunatic fighter who we haven't seen a whole lot of. Has he fought again? He's fought a couple more times. I can't remember his name.
Turner would kill that guy.
Yeah, I think so too. So I think you're going to see this fight play out, Marley, like you described it, which is Gamrot might get some of these takedowns, but Turner's just going to stand back up. And when the striking is happening, I think he is definitely going to be the better striker. Guram Kudalazzi. That's right. Guram. Has he won in the UFC since then? No. And he's losing. Yeah, he only fought once. So Demiris, he had a tough second fight.
And then Gamrot should have lost his fight against Tarukian. He lost his fight against Dariush.
Yep.
So
this guy should be on a 2-fight losing streak. You're absolutely right.
This is going to be a popular kill shot as well. And for good reason.
We had someone in our we mentioned that we'll shout out people who get a right kill shot. I don't know that Odie was on the optimal lineup, but I think a guy named The What commented that he was going to take Jose Johnson originally, and then he switched it with a reply to Odie Johnson.
There we go.
Or Odie Osborne. Sorry, Odie Osborne. And he got that one right. So
shout out to What. And remember to drop your favorite kill shots, your favorite underdog winner in the comments section. Let us know who you like. That's why we talk about the kill shots all throughout the way. 3-0 kill shots. The rest past 3 cards is returned to the show right here. Geek, I'm going for 4 in a row. Now I feel pressure. I feel a lot of pressure to keep up the pace. But I'm with you guys. I think Turner is the better DraftKings play, one of the better underdog plays on this card, and I'll be all over that. In a fight where I don't think there is a live underdog, coming up next, we've got Shavkat Rakhmonov taking on Jeff Neal. Oh, boy. Shavkat, minus 500. There are no more. Minus 500. You can erase the opponent here. Although I did hear Jeff Neal saying on an interview that he will be blowing up some parlays on Saturday. So we'll see.
What card is he doing that on?
Yeah, I don't know. He said it on Saturday, maybe the different Saturday. Don't parlay this. If it's minus 500, let me I got another thing to say here. minus 500 is already too much for a parlay for me. It's too much. Don't parlay it. It's too much. I mean, I guess if you're getting silly, but at some point, minus 500, minus 800, minus 12, it doesn't add anything to the parlay. One time, Marina Agapova screwed me as a minus 900 favorite. And on all my parlays, and I was like, why did I play her? That moved my parlay line from, plus 230 to plus 235. Like, it did nothing. Don't bother with it. Don't bother with this one either. But Shavkat, anyway, back to what we were saying here. Shavkat, minus 500. Jeff Neal, plus 400. The fight ends inside the distance prop is an just minus 215. So with that being said, Big Marley, how do you see this one playing out stylistically? And does Shavkat have enough in him to put up a score to compete with Bo at 9,600? Even some of these other high-priced fighters like Valentina at 9,400, even Gary at 9,300, whatever. All these other fighters that look live to score well on this card.
Well, I'll start by saying that this line is way too wide. Nobody should be a minus 500 favorite over Jeff Neal, to be honest with you. And if Shavkat Rakhmonov looks like a minus 500 favorite over Jeff Neal, he's a future champion. Just give him the belt. But if this is a striking match, I don't even know that Rakhmonov wins that. Jeff Neal is a great striker with one-punch knockout power. And I think this is going to play out a lot closer than the line indicates, especially if it's on the feet, where I don't know that Shavkat can get a guy like Jeff Neal down who has great takedown defense. And even when it was Bilal Muhammad, he would get both hands connected behind the legs, have the legs in the air, and somehow Jeff Neal's just holding himself up with one arm, and he's not allowing this guy to get a takedown. He's just got amazing takedown defense. So I would say that he would be the parlay buster of the week. Jeff Neal is the cheapest I'm willing to go this week because he's so cheap. He could go out there, win a striking-based decision, score okay. But if he goes out there and gets a knockout, he's on the optimal lineup. And I think he is in play for the knockout. But at the same time, I think DraftKings is a good place for Rakhmonov because all this guy does is finish fighters, and he would have the edge on the ground if he can get it there. He controlled Magny for like the entire fight, like 10 minutes until he finished him in the second round. If he can get Neal down, maybe he could do the same thing. I would prefer the fighters priced around him because he has a shit ton of hype. He's going to be popular, and I just don't want to get leverage to him if he's going to be near 50% owned. So I'll probably be underweight to Rakhmonov and overweight to Neal. But that's still going to be like 30% Rakhmonov, 10% Neal, something like that. I'm going to pick Rakhmonov to go out there and get a submission. I do think he's the real deal. I just think that I don't know how you can say that he's an 83% favorite over Jeff Neal, who is a real deal top of the notch fighter.
Jeff Neal beats every opponent that Shavkat has had so far.
Except fucking
Well,
Magny.
he lost to Neil Magny.
I wish, because I bet on him over Magny.
Magny's got that style. It confuses some people.
And he was like recovering from his like almost dying, whatever his illness was. I don't know. I feel like he's back now.
You're talking about Neal,
that is. Yeah. Rakhmonov's never been gone.
Rakhmonov's just been doing it. Monk, how do you see this one going down? You love Rakhmonov, you said.
Yeah,
so
I do. I'll have 0% Jeff Neal here. I think Rakhmonov is the real deal. I think he is a future champion, and I think he has potential to put on his best UFC performance here. I mean, he controlled Neil Magny 91.5% of that fight. He was in control, just racking up points. He only landed 19 strikes, 2 takedowns, 91% control time, finished him with a sub in the second round, scored 111. The guy's made optimal in 2 of his past 3 fights. Neil Magny has made it in 1 of his past 3, but Shavkat allowing just 1.2 a minute. There's a lot you could say here. Even the strength of schedule is very even. Rakhmonov to Neal in their last 5. To be completely honest, it is pretty even. I don't have much to say. I think Rakhmonov I'm lucky that Bo Nickel's on this card. He will be taking, I mean, without Bo Nickel, Rachmanov would probably be the highest owned fighter on the card, well over 50%.
Yeah.
Now, I think he'll be 40. I think I just
Can it
gained
get to
like,
40? I don't know.
yeah, exactly. I'm
I
gaining
don't think
10,
so.
15, 20%.
Yeah, the 40% that doesn't have
here.
Bo Nickel will have Rachmanov. So he can get
Or
there.
Valentina. She's a 5-round fighter.
I'm saying, like, I love Shavkat here. Bilal Muhammad wasn't able to get Neil down. Shavkat's 6'1". Bilal Muhammad has to look way up in the sky to see 6'1". He's got a longer reach here. No, he might not be able to outscore Jeff Neal, but I don't think he has to. This guy seems composed from every aspect of the fight. I'm happy to be proven wrong. I hope I'm not, because honestly, watching Shavkat fight is one of my favorite things. Him and like Almeida, probably my two favorite up and comers in the UFC out of anyone. So I'm really honestly rooting for this guy. And I think he has potential to smash everyone he fights. I don't see Jeff Neal being the one to stop him. So give me Rachmanov. I'm going to be so far over the field on him that I'm going to eat shit if he doesn't score well. But yeah, I'm going Shavkat here.
Yeah, I like the play. I like Shavkat as well. Again, I'm not as convinced that he's definitely going to score 110 or enough at 92 to be in the optimal. So I think he's going to be in my mix, and I'm just kind of mixing in these higher price guys because I know I can't really afford more than one of them in most lineups. So like, I will say this: if I have 9,600 left, I'm not going to leave 400 on the table and go down to Rachmanov over Nickel.
I don't know. I think his chances of making the optimal lineup are better than Nickel's. Nickel has to do a lot in less than 60 seconds to make the optimal.
That's fair.
Rachmanov has to do just what Rachmanov does.
But I think I don't think it's leaving 400, because I think if we're just talking raw points, I would favor Bo Nickel to get more points. It would just be a thing that you don't have the 400. But yeah, I would agree that I would not.
What's the value
if
though?
I have 9,600 for my last spot, I wouldn't skip Nickel to go there. Is what I'm saying.
That's all I'm saying. I'm still going to play Nickel over him.
But at the same time, I would rather just take the $400 discount and give me a more optimal chance at the optimal lineup based on that 3 out of 19. So like, I'm sure there's $400 elsewhere we could move up to make a better lineup with Rachmanov instead of Nickel. But yeah, I wouldn't rather have him if prices don't matter.
I'm going to paint the scary scenario for I'm going to be devil's advocate here. Shavkat, number one, Jeff Neal does have traditionally very good takedown defense. Say what you will. 85%, long career, lot of data. What if Shavkat's just kind of like, hey, he's piecing him up on the feet and he just keeps it striking and he's putting a beating on him, but he's not a high volume striker, but he's looking good and he's just kind of out there putting a beating, and then it's a 3rd round knockout and maybe it doesn't even result in a knockdown. It's a standing knockout. I'm just saying there's a scenario where Shavkat looks great. He gets the win. Maybe it mixes in a takedown or two along the way. It goes to decision and you're like, oh my gosh, man, he only scored 96 in this win. Like there are scenarios where Shavkat's style against the Jeff Neal doesn't necessarily produce a 115, an above 100 score. And it could even just come down to, just didn't go for a lot of takedowns in this one. Wasn't having too much trouble on the feet and just kind of did his thing. There are just ways. Like with Bo, there's no way. He's not coming out there like, I want to test my striking. No, he's getting a takedown fast. And he's going to try to get a submission real quick. And, he's going to try to end that fight. He's not going to like show off his skill. Or at least I don't think that's super likely. Where I could see
if
that
I was going to line a striking match between Rachmanov and Neal, I feel like it's minus 150 Rachmanov.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is like a version of this fight that goes down.
That's the case. This is a fucking mauling. Because he's way better on the ground than Neal is.
Yeah. The ground is what I think is why he is a minus 500. It's just I have a hard time thinking like he's going to have that easy of a time to get Neal on the ground. I mean, if he does, though, he's going to he's I already think it could be
Hamzat Gilbert Burns comparison. He took Burns down a couple times. Burns was not getting taken down by anybody.
But Hamzat did not score well in that fight.
Well, Burns turned out to have much more fight. I don't think Neal has that level of fight that Burns does by any means.
Probably not. But
I don't know, man. I think this is similar to that though. Yeah.
I'm just saying there's
I've always been a big Neil fan, though.
There's a scenario where all the top guys don't. There's a scenario where Valentina wins by decision and scores 80 points.
Oh, she could definitely do that.
Yeah.
I mean, she has
I just think it's
that.
almost more likely for a Rachmanov with his projected high ownership that it's a little overvalued, in my opinion, based on his opponent here, because everyone else in that range has, I mean, not nickel, but everyone else is fighting a pretty good fighter, like someone that belongs in the UFC at least, where Rachmanov is fighting a top 5 to 10 guy.
This guy's beaten, he knocked out Luque. I mean, he gets a win against Luque, Ponzi, like a couple of nasty strikers, and this guy's beaten him recently. But correct, the loss to grappler Magny seems to foretell the style that would be required to get this win. So let's see how it goes. But I'm just saying, for me, yeah, there's a pathway for Shafkat not to absolutely be in the nuts in a win. It's the only way I'm going. I think like there are others in the salary range that could be just as good, especially nickel and 5 rounds from Valentina against not that great of an opponent. I think she's live as well to outscore him. So I think you just got to spread it around here. I would not overexpose necessarily to any one of these guys. That's kind of how I'm going to play it. I don't think I want to get overly exposed to these guys. Now, speaking of Valentina, once again, this is a gimme fight. The UFC just doesn't have anybody left to throw at her in the division. And so, Alexa Grasso, you're up. It's your turn. It's your turn to take your beating. It's probably what's going to happen. Although I didn't think Valentina looked as great in her last fight as she had in previous fights. Sometimes you start to like take it easy, but she's at this point.
She just fought a real opponent in that one. Talia Santos beats everyone else that Valentina's beat too.
Well, there you go. So maybe Santos is really that good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Santos beating Grasso.
Exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying. Next man up. Basically, they're just going through the list. This is who's left. Grasso.
And the thing, she still scored 115 freaking DraftKings points over Santos, who is really good. So what I'm hoping is, we've been talking about this Bo Nickel hype, this Shavkat Rachmanov hype. I feel like they're both going to be higher on than Valentina, and this is our key to victory here. Is Valentina.
I love it. The key to victory. We got to have a segment on the show. The key to victory, and it could be Valentina. 5 rounds of action, Big Marley. What can Grasso do? I mean, she's minus. It just moved. Wait a minute. Is it my? Yeah. Oh, this. Look at this. The line was just steamed to minus 900. So it's not minus 600. It's minus 900 at this point. Steam.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't really see how Valentina loses this fight. I think Grasso is a great boxer, but Shevchenko is just a better overall striker. She's more dangerous on the feet as well. But if this is a striking match, she's not going to pay off the $9,400. So that's not really what we're worried about. It's that she can go out there and in her last 5, probably more, she scored at least 3 takedowns in all of them. And in her last 4 fights, her last 4 wins, of course, she scored 115, 108, 139, 134. So she has the highest ceiling on the entire card. She is the best women's fighter. I mean, top 2 women's fighter of all time. She can win this fight anywhere, lock her in cash games. And if she is 30 to 35% owned because Rachmanov and Nickel are so high owned, she's my favorite 9K fighter on the card. I think she can go out there, score 110 points with ease.
Oh, wait.
So I like Shevchenko. I will be fading Grasso unless, I think it was probably before the card. I don't know if you mentioned it before the card or right at the start of the podcast, that maybe Grasso loses and scores 45 points, and that's enough for the optimal lineup. I think that is in play, as well as a cash game punt if you want to stack her also. I think that's fine. Like, this is the fight to stack in cash if you're stacking either championship fight. But that's the only way I would use Grasso. This is all Valentina for me, and I will be overweight to Valentina.
Yeah, Monk, I mean, the stats for Valentina don't necessarily tell the tale. She's been around for a while. You know, it's like 2.5 takedowns on average, only 3 strikes per minute on her career. But we've definitely seen Valentina come out and put up those 115s, the 110s, the 120s. But yeah, how do you see this one going down from a scoring perspective?
Yeah, the more we get into it, I'll probably be fading the Nichols. I might have Valentina in almost every single lineup. To be completely honest, her DraftKings stats do tell a tale. It tells the tale that she's the best DraftKings fighter on this entire card, and it's probably not really even close. She averages 116 per win over her last 5 wins. Let's see, over 4.1 points a minute, only gives up 1.72. Guys, she's $140 cheaper under her average salary. She is cheaper than her average salary. She needs to be in your lineups, to be honest. Grasso is a striker. That's all she's going to do. She gives up a point per minute in takedowns and control time, which is a dream for Shevchenko. I see Grasso being able to do next to nothing here. I don't even think you can stack this fight, to be honest. Shevchenko her opponents score 30 points on average when she does win over her last 5. 30 points isn't going to be enough for Grasso likely to make the optimal lineup in a loss. And she is strictly a striker, whereas Talia Santos was able to take Shevchenko down 3 times. Maya was able to take her down 1 time. Grasso's not taking Shevchenko down. She's going to have to outstrike her. That's going to be literally impossible. So I don't think a stack is a good idea in this fight. I don't think you can play Grasso at all. Unless you're fine with like 10 or 15 points and you want to get Nickel and some other 9K person in there, you might as well just lock Shevchenko, to be honest. I'm going to have way more ownership of her than Nickel. Probably not more than Shavkat for me because I am on Shavkat that big. But Shevchenko is probably my second highest owned fighter this week.
Yeah, I have nothing to disagree with. You know, Grasso is not a very good takedown defender. She is sitting for her career at 64%. You don't want to be 60. You know, when you look at a women's MMA fighter and they're 64%, that's against like head and arm throws. That's against like, you know, not what Valentina is going to do, which is grab you and judo, take you down, body lock, judo. Like, it's hard for good takedown defense people to stop what Valentina does. She's not going to be able to stop it. Valentina will be able to do whatever the hell she wants in this fight. And that's how it's going to go down. Valentina's just going to do whatever the hell she wants. And she's going to win the fight. And I like the whole thought process of people are going to play Nickel, people are going to play Shavkat, and you know who gets forgotten? 5 rounds of Shevchenko
because it's a women's fight and people don't ever, and here we are with another women's flyweight. Women's flyweight.
And it gets
and
forgotten.
Get tons of leverage on it.
I didn't play.
This might be the number 1 leverage spot on the actually now because it's a women's fight and because Bo Nickel and Shavkat are fighting. You might not ever get leverage better than Valentina Shevchenko on this very card.
Love it. Enough said. That is a great play on this card.
Kill shot.
What's that?
Just kidding.
Yeah, no, you're not kill shot.
Kill shot.
Yeah, you're not allowed to kill shot Valentina. No.
Oh, come on.
I disallow it. When did I become when did I become the arbiter of the kill shot, by the way? Somehow it's like, does Kevin say it's okay? Like, what? I'm in charge of what's allowed? Like, come on. Somebody else.
You don't want me. You don't want me in charge.
You're like, oh, I'm going to put always the main event underdog. He's always my kill shot. Listen, coming to the main event, we've got Jon Jones back in action. The greatest pound for pound fighter from like 10 years ago, but he doesn't fight that much anymore. He's taking on Cyril Gane. That's right. There's an ampersand or some sort of little mark above the E, and now I'm going to say it's Gane. Gane. Pronounce it correct. In the main event, Jon Jones is a minus 155 favorite. Cyril plus 135. Fight goes the distance, minus 135. So we are favored to go the distance, which makes sense based on what Jon Jones has done in recent fights, which is just kind of like fight down to whatever competition level he has, just like do just enough to win, but not enough to dominate. I don't know what's up with that. He fights weird. Big Marley, what's going on with Jon Jones, man? What's up with him? Like the last few fights we saw, he just is not. He's not out there dominating. He's kind of like, yeah, I'll just do just enough.
Well, so what's wrong with him is he's an alpha male and he wants to beat his opponent at what his opponent is good at. So if his opponent is only a striker, he goes out there and strikes for some reason. But he's the greatest of all time because he has won every single fight when he has been fighting at his opponent's strengths. And I've always picked Jon Jones. I'm not going to start picking against him now. I mean,
I was told by Monk that optimal fighters fight optimally. And it doesn't sound like you're telling me this guy fights optimally.
That's true. Yeah, maybe DraftKings
He scored 140 on Anthony Smith.
I mean, usually though with Jon Jones, we're worried about the Bo Nickel thing. Can we afford Jon Jones at 9,500, 9,600? I don't know, because he could go out there and just not throw enough volume. But that's not the same issue in this fight where he's 8,400. If he does go out there and win, and it's a 25-minute striking match, I still think he can 10x that. I still think he can win the fight. I still favor him to win the fight, but he might not be a must-have on DraftKings if that's the case. What we want to target here is Jon Jones wrestling. Cyril Gane made Francis Ngannou look like a D1 wrestler, and Jon Jones should easily be able to do the same thing. If I knew Jon Jones was going to come into this fight and wrestle, he's a minus 400 favorite. This is a max bet right here at minus 150, whatever it is. If you tell me he's coming in here with a smart game plan to go in there and wrestle. But if he goes in there and he strikes or maybe just mixes in a couple takedowns, I think the line's probably right now. So I am going to take a stand on this one. I'm going to hope that the greatest of all time wants to show out in his heavyweight debut and just go ahead and get the easy win. Why go out there and strike with somebody who is a very good striker with big power when you could just dominate the fight on the ground? Jon Jones will be my highest owned fighter on the entire card. If I'm making 20 or less lineups, I'm just going to lock him in. He'll be a 100% owned fighter. But if I'm making 150, it'd probably be like 75%. And then maybe the other quarter will have Gane, something like that. But I don't know. I might even like balls up on fight day and be like, fuck it, 150 Jon Jones lineups. I've done it before. So it wouldn't shock me if I do that here. I'm just much more interested in the Jones side. If Gane wins this fight, I think it's the knockout that we're targeting for him to make the optimal lineup, because if he wins a 5-round decision, it might be 60, 70 point win. And that's not going to cut it.
It's so tricky when we have to depend on a fighter who has shown that he won't use necessarily the game plan that we want him to use.
I would also say that's a little short-sighted because it was like 3 fights ago. He fought Anthony Smith and he had like half the fight was control time. He scored 141 DraftKings points. I think that is more what we look at in this fight.
I can argue that it was just 1 fight ago that he was basically losing on the cards to Dominic Reyes, who went on to, is he still in the UFC? Lose every single fight
barely
since then. And just before that, he was almost losing to Thiago Santos, who also really has not won a fight since. So this guy's last 2 fights are against guys who Cyril Gane probably fucks up easily. And he almost lost. With that being said, that's because he's in there fucking around.
Target.
You're having some connection issues, so I'm going to go over to Monk here. But Monk, you know what I'm saying? Like, there you are. He's back. So, I don't think that's going to happen again. But what if it does? Like, we have no idea what we're going to see from Jon Jones. What was he doing in those other fights? Why are you just toying with your opponents when you're clearly better? Like, he looked like he was clearly better, but just like playing games out there. Reminded me of when Max Holloway was playing games against Frankie, the wrestler Frank. Who's this 5'6" wrestler that
Frankie Edgar.
That like Holloway was just like almost like respecting him and not, putting the volume on Frankie Edgar in that fight. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? What's Jon Jones doing out there? So I think there is this weirdness, but I think we also saw what you said, Big Marley, which was, Francis Ngannou is taking you down and controlling you. And listen, Francis Ngannou, if he wants to take you down, he's taking you down. I don't care what the fuck division of wrestling he comes from. That's Francis Ngannou. Like if he, I don't think there's anybody who's like, if Francis makes a decision, I'm going to take you down. He's taking you down, bro. Like he is that guy.
He's not taking Jon Jones down.
He'd take Jon Jones down too.
No,
he also
not taking
took
Jon
Cyril
Jones
Gane down multiple times on one ACL. Let's not forget this dude was basically incapacitated and still was taking down Cyril Gane. So, I mean,
Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou, if he's taking you down, you're kind of happy. Like, all right, at least he's not uppercutting me.
I mean, I suppose, but he's also, also not getting the title that way. And that performance was so fucking bad. He was winning that fight 2-0. All he had to do was win one more round, and this dude lost to a one-legged man. I don't care if it's the baddest man in the world. He had one freaking leg. Jon Jones I'm not interested in Cyril Gane at all for DraftKings. Not 1%. He's made the optimal lineup one time out of his last 5 fights. He scores not even 2.5 points a minute, 91 per win over his last 5. He is $1,200 under his average salary, which is enticing, but he does not do anything as far as DraftKings score. He's literally below average scoring for the card here, for everyone on the card.
It took this guy 3 rounds to beat Dontel Mays.
Give me Jon Jones here. I mean, 8,400. He doesn't score well either. Let it be known. In his past 5, 2.7 points a minute, 89 per win, and to 13x his salary, he's got to score 111, 112. That said, his opponents, when people fight him, they score 1 point a minute. No one does anything against Jon Jones for the most part. He's at heavyweight now. I think he can outstrike Cyril Gane, and I think if he looks to his wrestling, he's going to dominate this fight. There should be nothing that Cyril Gane can do to stop a Jon Jones takedown. I'm with Marley here. I'll be well over the field on Jones. I mean, I'm probably starting every lineup with either Valentina or Shavkat, and then Jon Jones, and then Jalen Turner. That's probably how I'm starting all 20 of my lineups this week, my hand builds. Honestly, I don't see how Cyril gets it done. Yeah, okay, everyone's talking about him knocking out Jones. Like, okay, well, that's never happened, ever, never. He's never been knocked out. I think Jon Jones has kind of fought a few legends. We don't have to go back and name the tens of names that are legendary fighters that Jon Jones has literally put down like dogs in the street, as Christoph Waltz would say. What is Cyril Gane gonna do? Who he murdered Lyoto Machida in the cage? That was fucking terrifying to watch.
Prime Glover Teixeira. Prime.
I mean, come on.
Young Glover.
What is Cyril gonna do here?
I'm sold, actually. 100% Jon Jones. I'm locking
100%. There's nothing else to say, guys. 100%.
100%. I think I'm about to place a bet. I was just looking at my DraftKings screen because I'm about to smash like a 3.5 unit play.
Good for us.
Jon Jones is already my biggest bet.
We're helping each other. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, let's fucking go. Let's put a bet on Jones.
If 100% on draft.
If Jones goes down, we're all going down like the fucking Titanic, baby.
I was thinking that when Monk said he's gonna fade Gane, I was like, that's too ballsy. But like I was saying, maybe I'll have 25% Gane. Like, why would I even go underweight to somebody like that? I might as well, like, just a little go underweight. I might as well just full fade him. So
it's either full fade or
Jon
full
Jones
go.
Or pass. Maybe I don't do 100% Jon Jones. Maybe it's like 85% Jon Jones. But I'm kind of sold on the Gane fade.
I'm okay with the Gane fade too. And like I said, with Jones, I'm just worried that he's gonna do his little thing where he wants to dance around, fuck around, and not, fight with just fight to win the round and not really. Yeah. That's what he did in the last 2 fights.
If that's the case, then the fight just won't be on the optimal lineup.
Right.
So
yeah.
Don't use Gane, fade the fight.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe you go 80% Jones.
Yeah, something like
and
that.
And then just fade Cyril. So I like that too. I like the bet on Jones here as well. I'm going to smash that bet on DraftKings. You guys convinced me. I was thinking about it, but you guys convinced me here. So I am on board. I am on board. See, we're getting convinced of bets. As I think I'm going to bet Turner as well, by the way. I think that plus 180, that might be a play.
I listen to a lot of I'm surprised. I listen to a lot of shows. There's a lot of people on Turner. I was so happy. I had Turner before I listened to anybody. and everybody's on Turner. So I don't know if that's good or bad.
Well, we're all looking
I
for
think
underdogs
everyone's on
too.
Gamrot, to be honest with you.
Oh, really? I've heard the guys I've listened to so far. I haven't listened to a ton yet, but I'm hearing a lot of Turner. That's going to be a good fight, man. I'm really excited for that.
That one should be really interesting.
Yeah.
All right. This brings us to the kill shot. And guys, if you're here with us still, we want you to drop your kill shot in the comment section. We'll call you out if you nail it. So let us know who your favorite underdog on this card. Who is the underdog that could win? And more importantly, name the underdog that will be in the nuts lineup, like your boy has done the last 3 weeks in a row. That's 3 cards in a row. We're going for 4, Big Marley. I don't pay attention to anybody else, by the way. You could have also hit 3-0. I don't know. I only pay attention to me. I'm fucked up like that.
Well, who you got this week then? You can give me last. I have 3 in mind, so go ahead.
I mean, I've got a few in mind as well. So for the contest purposes, the safest kill shot is not who I'm going to play, but I also don't want to play Monks. So Monk, I'm going to let you go first because I know who your kill shot is already.
Yeah, I'm looking at the names, even trying to find another one. Also, Gamrot's coming in on short notice. This was a replacement fight. Give me Jalen Turner, $7,600, guys. What a potential value opportunity we have here.
I left that one for you.
I appreciate it. I would have taken it anyways, but
yeah,
I do
because of the
appreciate
confidence. I don't want to have the same one for the show. I might choose that for our competition, but for the show, I don't want to have the same one
for the people.
Yeah, for the people. I have another one in mind. But Big Marley, where are you going with your kill shot this week? Vivian.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go. No, I'm gonna go with the real one. I feel like Viviani would be my kill shot for like the group, like the safer win.
Yeah, that's
more ways to win.
That's the weak sauce.
But I said that Trevin Jones was my first or second favorite underdog on the card, so I'm gonna go Trevin Jones.
All right, I'm getting crazy with this one. I'm going with somebody that has paid off for me in the past. I'm going right back to my boy, the chinless wonder himself, D. Rockefeller, Derek Brunson.
Nice.
Wins the fight, scores 100+ in the nuts lineup on DraftKings. Suck it.
I love those 3 picks and Aruja. I love those 4 dogs. Yeah, 100%. I love it. I love it.
All right. So
those
there we go.
Picks.
That'll do it. The kill shot, UFC 285, Jones versus Gane, 2 hours of breakdown. Unbelievable. So good luck. We are going to see you guys at the top of the leaderboards. Remember, drop your favorite kill shot if it's the same one as we picked, great. If it's someone else, you're on Julian Marquez. You like Mana Martina? Let us know. Maybe it's Cyril Gane.
We'll allow the main event for this one.
Couple bets in play for this one, Big Marley. We got Jon Jones. We got Jalen Turner as a little long shot bet here.
180 on Jalen Turner.
I'll take plus 180. I'll take the plus 180. What was the other one that we mentioned?
Brunson love? I could see that one, man.
I'm taking a shot on Brunson as well. Listen, am I going to go crazy on the unit size? No, because he's got no chin.
What's the Vivian line? We get
Vivian
money there?
Vivian is even odds, man. You get minus 105. So you can get I don't like that kind of bet because I do feel like it's a 50-50.
A little close.
It feels like exactly
the TKO line. That's got to be nice.
Oh, yeah.
Get that.
Good point.
So, and there's a couple of by decisions that you can do to jack up. Oh, that was the other one. It was the by decision from I can't remember. I have to go back and look. We talked about it on the show, but now it's been 2 hours and I forgot. Anyway, all right, let's wrap it up. It was a minus 500 favorite that we could get by decision for plus 180.
Basharat, maybe.
No. Yeah, Basharat. Yeah, Basharat by decision. There we go. So Basharat by decision as well. All right, good luck this weekend. We will see you guys at the top of the leaderboards. Let's crush it. Good job, Big Marley, MonkMMAtics. We'll see you guys next time. Deuces.